Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the History Cloak channel. I'm Mr. McGee. Today is the very first episode of our Russia series. Now, today's episode is focused on one particular question. What is communism? Now you see, if we don't answer that question, none of the things that has happened in Russia's history, starting at the beginning of the 20th century and leading to today with Russia's invasion of Ukraine, none of that will make sense if we don't answer the question, what is communism? Now, communism can go by many different names. Sometimes it's called Marxism. Sometimes it's called collectivism. Sometimes it's called socialism. Now, for purposes of not confusing everybody, I'll use two terms, either communism itself or Marxism. The term Marxism will be used because it refers to the founder of communist theory, Karl Marx. I'll also use communism because communism was what we called Marxism in the 20th century. And of course, communism was what Russia embraced when it became the Soviet Union at the beginning of the 20th century. Now, you may be asking yourself, okay, I get it. I need to understand communism in order to understand Russia both through the 20th century and then into invading Ukraine. But you still haven't told me, Mr. McGee, what is communism? Well, in order to answer that, we need to go a step further. We need to ask ourselves this question: what is communism the opposite of? And the answer is this: communism is the opposite of capitalism. Capitalism is an economic system in which the citizens, not the government, own their own property as well as own their own business. And if a citizen owns their own business, they determine what they will produce, meaning what they will make, and how much they will sell what they make for. In other words, it's an economy that is run by the free citizens of the country. Now, because the citizens of the country are the ones who own their own property and own their own businesses and make the decisions with their business, this system encourages other people to invest in other businesses or in their own business. By the way, we call investment entrepreneurship, all right? So if someone is an entrepreneur, they invest in their own business or someone else's business. In a system like capitalism, businesses have to compete against each other for a customer's business. So that encourages not only investment, but also innovation to make a better product at a cheaper price. So the key is, with all that information I gave you, you have to remember, capitalism is the citizens of the country owning their own business, owning their own property, and making the decisions about their business. Communism, on the other hand, is the exact opposite of capitalism. In communism, the citizens cannot own their own property. A citizen does not own any business or determine what to make or how much will be produced. In a communist economic system, all property, all business, all production is owned by the country, which is just a fancy way of saying it's owned by the government. So in communism, the government owns all the businesses, all the property, and determines what will be produced and how much and what to charge. Now, as mentioned earlier, Karl Marx was the founder of the modern economic belief of communism. He was born on May 5th, 1818, and died on March 14th, 1883. He spent his adult life developing the modern theory of communism along with a friend of his, Friedrich Engels. Marx saw people in society as belonging to one of two groups. Either they belong to the bourgeoisie or they belong to the proletariat. Now, if you're asking yourself, wait a second, what on earth is that? I'm going to explain. The bourgeoisie were the wealthy, the business owners. The proletariat were the working class, the poor. Marx saw the bourgeoisie, meaning the wealthy, the rich, the business owners, he saw them as evil, and the proletariat, the working class, the poor, as good. And he felt that the only remedy was to take all power from the bourgeoisie, meaning the wealthy, the business owner, and give all power to the proletariat, the working class, the poor. Now, I can already hear my audience screaming, wait a second, something's wrong here, stop, Mr. McGee. How can simply being a business owner or being wealthy make you evil? And how can simply being poor or working class make you good? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's a good question, because good and evil isn't based on you being in a particular group that has nothing to do with morality. And yet in communism, your goodness or evilness, if evilness is a word, is based simply on what group you are in. So if you are wealthy or the business owner, you are evil. And if you are the working class or the poor, you are good. Now, I know some of you are sitting at home going, okay, wait a second. Now I'm seeing some major problems. Nobody is judged as an individual, meaning, hey, I'm responsible for my own actions. It doesn't matter what group I'm in. We all know people who are wealthy who are good, and people who are poor who are evil. We also know people who are wealthy who are evil, and people who are poor who are good. Your status, meaning what group you're in, has nothing to do with whether you're evil or you're good. But in Marx's communist theory, evil and good is based not on your individual actions and your heart. It's based on what group you are a part of. Now, you can see some of the problems that come with thinking like this. This means that if you are wealthy or a business owner, no matter how good you are still labeled as evil no matter what you do. If you are a working class or a poor person and you are evil, it doesn't matter how much evil you do, you're still considered good. Now, I know some people may be thinking, wait a second, surely people would know that good versus evil, right versus wrong, has nothing to do with whether you're rich or poor. Well, you have to remember, where do we get our notions of good versus evil from? Well, we get it from religion. And in the case of Europe in the 1800s, the main religion at the time was Christianity. Well, Karl Marx believed that religion, meaning Christianity, was the opiate of the masses, meaning it was a drug that kept the working class poor people down. So in Marx's communist vision of the world, he believed that you got rid of religion. Therefore, your foundation for what is right and wrong, or what is good and what is evil, is gone. And now the new foundation of communism teaches what is good and what is evil, what is right and what is wrong. So in Marx's communist world, the only good is to take power from the rich and give it to the poor. The only evil is for the rich to hold on to their wealth and not want it to be stolen from them. Now, you can see why no religion, no actual right versus wrong, a new foundation for good versus evil. How is that going to affect a country that adopts that? And they adopt a new foundation based solely on how much money you have or how little money you have, what group you're in or what group you're not in. It is this economic system that Russia, later called the Soviet Union, would place throughout their entire country, changing the course of their history throughout the 20th century. But that is for another video. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them respectfully and politely in the comments section below. I'm Mr. McGee. Take care.